Hey guys, it's Lex at LexReads, and today we're just gonna chat about my rating crisis. So the last, week, I've watched so many videos about ratings, which is interesting because typically in my life when I'm, watching reviews and stuff like that, I don't care about the star rating as much as I care about the review itself. When the booktuber just talks about the things that they liked, didn't like, whether or not they would recommend it, the elements that were good, the elements that they weren't a fan of. I really love Kayla's reviews because sometimes she does this thing where she's like, this was a 2-star book, but if you like X, Y, and Z, you'll probably love this book. Maybe pick it up. And if I love X, Y, and Z, I'll be like, cool, and maybe I'll pick it up. The number matters so much less to me than I think it does to so many other people, which is why when I read books, I give them star ratings on Goodreads and in videos and stuff, even though I just feel like it's really arbitrary. And I feel like a lot of people's rating systems are really kind of arbitrary and So I watched Kayla Books and Lala's video where she didn't rate any books for a month. She did that in April of 2019, but I was in the throes of a semester and it's an hour-long video and I just kind of forgot about it. But it was in my watch later, so I watched it a couple nights ago. It was a really good video, but it kind of sparked me also kind of freaking out a little bit about ratings. Because I kind of do a similar thing where she does, where my 4s and 5s are really close, and my 1s and 2s are basically the same thing. So I almost never give any 1s. And then my 3s are just kind of And I also watched Book Roast's, her explaining her rating scale. And Book Roast's rating scale is better than mine. Mine's kind of garbage. So like I said, my 1s and 2s and my 4s and 5s are just so close. So I guess my rating scale usually goes like this. I almost never give out 1s because I'm a really intense DNFer. So if I at any point in a book I'm just not feeling it, I'll just stop reading it. And because of this, I think any book that I can get through deserves at least a 2. Because to me, 1 is a book that in my opinion, to me as an individual, is unreadable, but I don't think it's fair to rate a book that I didn't read. So I don't give out 1s, ever. I think the only thing that could make me give out a 1 is if a book is a 2, it's a 2, it's a 2, it's a 2, and then the last 10 pages are just the most disgusting hot dumpster fire that I've ever read in my life. I think the only way for me to give it 1 would be if it was a 2 until the last page, and then it just became annihilated. Can you hear my dog? She's wrestling around back there. And that's never happened to me before, where the ending of a book wrecked the book so badly that it dropped it from a 2 to a 1. I've had books where it's been a 4 or a 3, and the ending I hate so much that it drops it a star, so a 4 became a 3 because of the ending, or a 3 became a 2 because of the ending, but I've never had a 2 become a 1. It's never happened. So then a 2 is a book that I can barely get through. 2s, I haven't given out too many 2s. The 2s that I've given out the most recently that I can remember off the top of my head is I gave Murder Trending a 2, and I gave, during my reread of the Divergent series, I gave Allegiant a 2. And I gave Murder Trending a 2 because I was bored. It felt like there were no stakes. There was a lot of murder happening, but I never cared. It was so... Oh, I hate shitting on books. I hate shitting on books. I hate shitting on books. I just was bored to the point where... So I DNF'd it a few months ago, and then I picked it back up a week ago, and was like, I'm going to read it because I was so excited about this darn book. It was like one of the books that I was the most excited about in 2019 that I had bought, and then I didn't like it. It just kind of felt like every punch was pulled. The stakes didn't feel high. I saw all of the, like, twists coming. And then Allegiant, the whole book felt so OOC to me, out of character. Like, I know that it can't be out of character because it's like canon material, and OOC is usually something people say about fan fiction when, like, you read a fan fiction and you're like, how the hell did you get this? How did you make this character this? Because that's like not, like, none of that is how this character is ever. But I felt that way. I felt that way the whole time I was reading this, like, canonical book, where I was like, who are these people? I literally was like, I feel like I've never read these characters before, and it's the third book. It was so strange. And controversial opinion, the only thing I like about Allegiant is the end. Take from that what you will. Yep. Yeah, so 2s essentially are reserved for books that I, like, really do not enjoy for one reason, another reason, or all of the reasons, but are still, like, readable. If I can drag my way through a book, even if I hate it, it's a 2. Which is why I've only ever given out, like, 3 2s, because I usually, like I said, if I really hate a book, I usually just DNF it. So 2s don't get given out too much either. And then 3 stars, I give out 3 stars, like, sometimes. A 3-star book, it's like okay, it's like fine. I didn't, like, want to DNF it, but I didn't really enjoy it that much. It was like, okay, like, this was a pleasant-ish experience. It was the only book I can think of that I recently gave 3 stars is Insurgent in the Divergent series. I don't know why my brain is just like, I think I gave Genuine Fraud by E. Lockhart 3 stars. I think I did. Let me check. I can check that. I'll talk about that one instead if I did. So I rated Genuine Fraud by E. Lockhart 3 out of 5 stars. The thing about it was that it was a really solid read, and I did enjoy it, and I devoured it. I ate it in, like, I read it in, like, 2 sittings, and I thought it was, like, a fun read. That being said, it's not the kind of book that I feel inclined to, like, recommend. You might notice that I don't talk about it all that much. Like, I read it at the beginning of last year, and I don't know if it really has come up, like, at all. Just in, you know, I bought it, and I don't know if it's, like, come up. Like, I don't think I've talked about it at all. It was fine. I saw all the plot twists coming. The ending was really, really lackluster. And that's that on that. It was a book that was, like, fun, and I enjoyed reading it. I probably won't reread. I think it boils down to, like, a 3 is, like, a book that was good, it was okay, it was, like, solid enough, but there were as many things I didn't like about it as there were things that I like about it, which is probably good for a 3, considering it's smack dab in the middle. You know, a 3 is just as close to a 1 as it is to a 5. So, and my real problem lays in 4 and 5. Because I don't have a definitive answer for what's different. I don't, like, dock stars because there were things about it that I didn't like, which, like, is dumb, and I know that that's dumb. The difference between a 4 and a 5 is, like, how I vibe with it. It's just, like, it's not that, I know a lot of people do 5 as like a flawless read for them, where they're like, I loved it, I devoured it, I don't have any problems with the characters, or any problems with the narrative, or any problems with the plot, or any problems with the arcs. Sometimes I have issues with 5-star books, but like, I enjoyed them so much that I don't care. That I just like, don't care. I'm like, I fundamentally hated this large thing about this book, but I had such a fun time reading it that I'm giving it a 5. And likewise, like, sometimes, like, better books, I give them 4s because I was just like, didn't vibe like a 5. Didn't feel like a 5. Which is dumb. Why do I do that? I don't have an answer. Okay, so some examples of books that I, in the last year or so, have given 4 stars are Ever the Hunted, which is the first book in the Clash of Kingdoms trilogy that I have not read the rest of the books in. And it was like a good book that I didn't have any huge problems with. And I read it in one sitting, and it was a fun read. But I didn't love it. I just wasn't in love with it. And there was no real reason that I could discern. I just wasn't obsessed with it. So it didn't get a 5. Another book that I gave a 4 out of 5, I gave Divergent, the first in the Divergent series. On my reread, I docked it from a 5 to a 4. Because I realized upon rereading it that, like, it was fun, and I liked it. And I love dystopian. Dystopian is one of my favorite genres. It's one of my favorite things to read. I'm obsessed with dystopias. And it was like, I loved it, but I just didn't feel like a 5. And it probably didn't help that I reread the Divergent series literally immediately after I reread The Hunger Games, which is probably where that bias comes in, because The Hunger Games is my favorite book series of all time. So of course Divergent isn't going to be The Hunger Games. I'm not going to read Divergent and be obsessed with it like I'm obsessed with The Hunger Games, because I'm not obsessed with Divergent the way that I'm obsessed with The Hunger Games. I'm just not. And it's not to say that Divergent is the worst book. It isn't. I don't know. I think it is. I lied. It is. It is a worse book, because it kind of feels like a I don't know. I don't even know. What else got 4? Another book that I gave 4 stars, A Danger to Herself and Others, which was that, like, book about, I think her name was Hannah, and she got institutionalized after there was an accident with her, like, summer camp roommate, and it's the summer and it was, like, right before her senior year of high school, and she just wants to get out of the institution. She has to prove that she's not a danger to herself and others. Her roommate Lucy, like, comes in and kind of, like, shows her truths about herself and blah, 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 blah. And it was a solid book that I really enjoyed. I read it pretty quickly. Looking back, I'm kind of surprised that I didn't see the, like, plot twist coming. It was kind of obvious, and I just, like, didn't notice. But I just didn't love it enough to give it 5 stars. I don't know why. And then some recent reads that I've given 5 stars on, I gave 5 stars to all of the Hunger Games trilogy. I gave 5 stars to One of Us is Lying. I gave 5 stars to, which, looking back, I think I would maybe drop that a star. I think I would maybe give One of Us is Lying a 4-star review. Stupid trucks. Just like, just casually looking back, I maybe would drop that one a star. But I gave, like, We Were Liars, They Both Die at the End, One of Us is Lying, Truly Devious, all of the Hunger Games books, 2 of the 3 books that I've read this month so far I've given 5 stars to. And even so, I don't know if I'm posting this before or after my wrap-up, so I don't want to talk. I'll just post it after my wrap-up. Okay. So, as I talked about in my January wrap-up, I read The Merciless and These Witches Don't Burn, both this month. I gave both of them 5 stars. And the thing that always makes me sad about 5 stars is there's no way to discern, like, my favorite book of all time, which is Alice by Christina Henry, and The Merciless, which they're both horror. Technically, Alice is adult horror and The Merciless is YA horror. But they're, like, the same genre-ish. The Merciless deals with an exorcism, and Alice is an Alice in Wonderland horror retelling. And there's no way for me to tell you, except for telling you, that Alice is 100% a better book. Like, I like it more, it's better, it's written better, it vibes better, it feels better. I, like, will recommend it to everyone who ever likes things that are, like, a little bit grotesque, things that are a little bit gross. Any horror fans, anyone who can deal with some things that are a little bit heavy. The Merciless didn't pull punches, so I'm not saying that it was, like, less horror. I actually was, like, The Merciless, like, felt more horror-y, like, horror-esque than Alice did. Every time I reread Alice, I'm like, Alice doesn't really feel like a horror novel to me. And there's no way, except for me telling you that it's better, to tell you that it's better, except for, like, dropping The Merciless's star rating. But I liked it so much that I don't want to give it a 4 out of 5. I don't know. How do I fix that? How do I fix this? How do I fix what's wrong with my damn rating scale? Do you know? If you know, please let me know. Please tell me how to fix it. And I know a lot of people might say, like, use the actual, like, Goodreads star count measure, which is, like, 5 is, like, a flawless book, 1 is, like, a garbage book, 3 is, like, a mediocre, solid, okay, fine book, 4 is a really good book, and 2 is, like, a not very good book. Like, if I did it that way, I guess I would have to, like, drop The Merciless, because it's not up, like, I don't consider it up there in my, like, favorite books of all time. It's nowhere on the level of The Hunger Games, and We Were Liars, and They Both Die at the End, and Perks of Being a Wallflower. Like, it is not at that caliber. So why did I give it 5 stars? I don't know! I wish I could end this video with, like, a resolution or, like, a way to fix it. But I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to like it. I don't know how to rate better. I think the answer is I need to give out more 4 stars. I think I don't give out enough 4 stars. Is there a way for me to look at my, like, analytics? 5 million, almost 6 million people also read The Hunger Games in 2019, but only 2,000 people read A Danger to Herself and Others. My average rating was a 4.2, and that's because I give out so many 5 stars. I know that it is. The highest rated book on Goodreads that I read was The Hunger Games. My first review is The Screaming Staircase. Tells me all the books that I read. I need to rate more books 4 stars. I think I just need to rate more books 4 stars. Okay, so 27 of the 53 books I have logged on Goodreads, I really need to be better about logging my books on Goodreads, were 5 stars. And I bet 5 or 6 of them are on my, like, favorite books of all time, like, my top 20 books of all time list. I need to give more 4 stars. I do have a solution. My solution is I need to give more 3 and 4 stars. I need to do that. That's what I need to do. Okay, I'm resolving that going forward I'm going to try to be a little bit more critical and give more 3 and 4 star reviews. I need to rate less on vibe and more on critical thinking. Be better. That's all I got. We're gonna sign off. I post a new video every Thursday, for sure. Bonus videos on Tuesdays, commonly when I'm not busy. Alright, I'll see you all later. I'm sorry this was a year-long video that I just rambled on for it the whole time. Bye, friends.